We are living on the planet as if we have another one to go to. Be a part of the solution, not part of the pollution. Protect the green. And think green. The earth is what we all have is common. And we are all connected. If we don't take climate action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon. The world's people have spoken. Their message is clear. Time is running out.
The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere now is 50% higher than it was in 1900. And not only are we piling in more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but we are chopping down the forests of the earth at a great rate. And the forests themselves are the most efficient consumers of carbon dioxide that there are on earth. We're going to destroy the ground because the soil of a rainforest isn't very good. We are actually tampering with the climate of the earth and with the very atmosphere that we breathe. When we talk about the disappearance of the ozone layer, we don't know what will happen when the ozone layer goes. The world has become so fragile that we cannot subject the earth to the tortures we can now inflict upon it. When we talk about the greenhouse effect, we're talking about something that affects the entire earth. And these problems are life and death problems. They go to the root of the viability of the planet itself. If there's one thing that is biologically certain about the human species is that it is a human species, one species.
If we don't stop the destruction of our natural world, nothing else will matter. Simply put, if we don't protect nature, we can't protect ourselves.
The only way we can solve a problem is by a human solution. Never can we sit back and wait for miracles to save us. Miracles don't happen. Sweat happens. Efforts happens. Thought happens.
We, as a student of Bachelor of Physical Education, we work to remedy the information gap in mainstream climate advocacy, which tells us that virtually the only practical effective action we can take is to reduce fossil fuel emissions, deforestation, intensive farming, waste disposal, and mining. Primarily based in the physical sciences, we as a human need to manage the biosphere to undo the eco-mess we have created and regenerate a planet that we can live on. While reducing emissions is of critical importance, there is far more that we can and must do, especially considering that emissions reductions efforts have to date been sufficient. And even if emissions were to go to zero today, with biodiversity and eco-restoration, we can unite people, organizations, and governments, even those who have been fighting for advantage for decades. As we can see, the effects of climate change, we need to do better to prevent it, such as renewable energies, energy and water efficiency, sustainable transportation, sustainable infrastructure, sustainable agriculture and forest management, and also responsible consumption and recycling. These solutions always will lead us to better. Also, it may help us to preserve for the future in the next generation. Save Mother Earth.
How can we help Mother Nature? Here are some steps I will give you to protect our Mother Nature.
Instead of wasting too much water in brushing your teeth like this, go get a glass and use a glass rather to save water.
Instead of using water coming from wells or even pump wells or faucets, you can also use water coming from rainfall to wash your clothes and even clean your bathrooms. You can save water and you can save energy.
Instead of using commercial fertilizer, we can use organic fertilizer to sustain the nutrients of what our plants needed. Banana peel, animal residue, dried leaves, and other natural waste which produce minerals and nutrients to the plants. By that, we can help nature to save and absorb it their own. One more thing, instead of harvesting crops using repair which consumes gasoline, we can use sickle for natural way, whereas we lessen harm on both land and air. It is benefit for us because we use our own energy to work.
For a long time, we have been taught about the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. But now, there's 2 more in the mix. That's right, there are now 5 R's: refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle, in that order. The order of the R's is also important. The closer to the start of the list, the better the option. So, are we ready? Let's take it from the top. The first R is refuse. Our lives are full of stuff we don't need, and each thing has an environmental cost. Be thoughtful when buying. Use the power of your dollar to tell companies what you want and don't want. The next R is reduce. You can reduce your overall consumption by questioning all significant purchases and resisting impulse buying. Before purchasing, give yourself at least a day or 2 to cool off. Next is reuse. Ditch disposable for reusable. Almost everything we buy and use in our daily lives ends up being thrown away at some point. It goes to landfill, becomes litter or pollutes our oceans, contributes to the emission of harmful greenhouse gases, or harms the planet in other ways. We need to cut our consumption to reduce our environmental impact. Reusing an item is how earlier generations made the most of limited resources in less wealthy and consumer-convenient times. The fourth R is repurpose. This one is simple and can go by many names. You may have seen it on this site under upcycling or DIY. Simply take something you are no longer using and alter it for another more practical use. Think mason jar into smoothie cup or pallet into shelving unit. And the final R is recycle. When you've tried everything else, it's time for the final R, the recycle. Recycle everything you can. Anything made from metal, wood, most plastics, paper and cardboard, and electronic e-waste are all likely to have an recycling option.